All right, so welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving deep into a story that honestly, like as soon as I saw it, I knew we had to talk about it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's about Mark Angel, the Nigerian comedian.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It's about his finances and
Oh, wow.
yeah, and it's like a real roller coaster, to say the least.
I'm intrigued, yeah.
We've got this article from Lori Supergall, and the title just grabs you right away. It says, "I lost over $3.07 and was drowning in debt. Mark Angel shares, thanks ex-wife for helping him."
Whoa, $3.7 million? That's
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's not just like losing some pocket change. That's
life-changing.
It is. And the story, well, it's not just about the money, It's about like how he bounced back, who helped him, and honestly, there's some mystery there too.
Yeah, I mean, we don't often hear about those kinds of losses, especially
from someone who's, known for comedy, making people laugh.
Exactly. Like, you just don't associate that with someone like Mark Angel. He's, well, for those who don't know, he's pretty famous for his YouTube skits.
Yeah, he's got a huge following.
So to hear about this level of financial struggle, it's definitely a contrast.
And the article, it doesn't hold back. It lays out how bad things got.
Oh, so it gets into the nitty-gritty.
It does. And it wasn't just losing the money, it was the pressure, the debt collectors, even like loan sharks getting involved, seizing property.
Oh, wow. That's intense.
Yeah, and he talks about like feeling like he was drowning in debt, even having thoughts of, suicide. It's a dark side of financial ruin that we don't always see.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that behind the success, behind the public persona, there are real people going through real struggles.
And one of the things that really stood out to me was the role his ex-wife played in all of this.
His ex-wife?
Yeah, Mandy. She's like a big part of why he was able to recover.
Now, that's not something you hear every day. I mean, exes being part of the support system during, a crisis like this.
Right. It kind of throws you off a little. You think of exes and you don't usually think support system.
Not usually, no. But it speaks to, I guess, the fact that people can surprise you and that sometimes help comes from unexpected places.
Definitely. And she wasn't the only one. His social media assistant, a friend named Blessing, his daughters, they all rallied around him.
It makes you think about, when things fall apart, who do you have? Who's there to catch you? Because it might not be who you expect.
That's a good point. And it's something, we can all think about, like, who are our people? But going back to Mark Angel, you think about someone with his level of success, you'd think, wouldn't he have financial advisors? Like, how does this even happen?
Right. You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And it really highlights something important, which is that even with advisors, there's always like a level of personal responsibility when it comes to money.
So are you saying that even with professional guidance, things can still go wrong?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
There are bad investments, unforeseen circumstances, scams even, that can lead to big losses, regardless of who's advising you.
So it's not just about having the right people around you. It's about being informed yourself, being financially literate, I guess you could say.
Exactly. It's about understanding the risks.
Yeah.
Making sure you're not just blindly trusting, even if it seems like a sure thing.
It's almost like sometimes there's this pressure, this unspoken pressure to always be winning, to be making big moves,
Oh, absolutely. Especially in a field like entertainment. There's this constant need to stay relevant, to keep pushing, keep growing.
And maybe that pushes people towards riskier investments. Like there's a fear of looking like you're not as successful as people think you are.
Yeah, like you're falling behind or something.
Right, exactly. And that fear, well, it can make you do things you might not otherwise do.
It can cloud your judgment. Definitely.
Yeah. So in the article, it mentions that Mark Angel, he actually posted about all of this on Instagram.
Oh, wow, really?
Publicly. Yeah, he even included a video where he talks about everything. We won't play the video here, but the comments on the post are really interesting.
Oh, I bet. I can imagine there's a mix of reactions.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely a mix. Some people are incredibly supportive, offering prayers, encouragement,
Yeah, that makes sense. People wanting to show they care, that they're there for him.
Exactly. And then there are others who are, they're more skeptical.
Oh, really? Like they don't believe it?
Kind of, yeah. Some are wondering if there's more to the story, if maybe he's not telling the whole truth.
I guess that's natural too, right? People are naturally curious. And when it involves large sums of money, there's always that, what really happened kind of question.
Exactly. And it shows how people process things differently. Some are all about support. Others are more like, hold on, I need more information.
It's like two sides of the same coin, the empathy and the questioning. But they both come from a place of trying to understand.
So you have comments like, at I am Romeo Candy saying, "It is well, bro. God continues to guide and protect you all round." That's just like pure support right there.
That's nice. Yeah, very heartfelt.
But then you have someone like at hour one of asking if it was a scam.
Oh, wow. Straight to the point.
Yeah, and at King's questioning some of the financial details you mentioned, it's like people are trying to piece things together, make sense of it all.
It's like a puzzle they're trying to solve.
And honestly, that questioning, even if it's skeptical, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, I mean, it shows they're engaged, they're thinking critically, not just accepting what they hear at face value.
Which is so important these days, right? With how fast information spreads, being able to filter it, analyze it, it's crucial.
Oh, absolutely. You can't just believe everything you see or hear, especially online.
And those comments about scams, it brings up a really important point about due diligence, especially with investments.
Yeah, that's a lesson we can all take away from this. Even if we're not dealing with millions of dollars, being cautious, doing your research, it's essential.
So this kind of leads us to a big question, right? What could even cause a loss this big? Millions of dollars, that's not just a small misstep,
Yeah, and while we don't have all the details of Mark Angel's specific situation, we can talk about some of the common things that, can lead to financial trouble.
What are some of the pitfalls people can fall into, even if they think they're being careful?
Well, let's look at, the bigger picture of financial risk. Maybe that'll give us some clues as to what could have happened. Well, when you think about financial risks, it's easy to focus on the obvious stuff, like bad investments, or maybe the market taking a dive.
Right, those are the things you hear about all the time.
But there are some sneakier risks, things that can catch you off guard.
Oh, like what?
One thing that people often underestimate is scams.
Scams?
Yeah, like fraud, especially nowadays with everything online, so many investment platforms, social media. It's a breeding ground for scammers.
Oh, so you're saying, even someone like Mark Angel, who, he's successful, you'd think he'd know how to spot a scam.
Right, exactly. But the thing is, these scammers, they're getting really good at what they do.
So they could fool, pretty much anyone.
Pretty much, yeah. They use social engineering, they play on your emotions, they'll promise you huge returns with no risk, or they'll pressure you to invest quickly before you have time to think.
Oh, so it's you're using psychology to manipulate people.
Exactly. It's not just about being smart with money, it's about being aware of these tactics.
So what are some red flags people should look out for?
One of the biggest ones is, like I said, the promise of ridiculously high returns with no risk involved.
If it sounds too good to be true.
It probably is, yeah. Another thing is, if they're pushing you to invest quickly, not giving you time to do your research.
They're trying to rush you into it.
Exactly. That's a big sign that something might be off.
Okay, so even if someone seems legit, they have all the right credentials, you're still saying it's important to do your homework.
Always. Always do your research.
Right.
And don't be afraid to, ask for a second opinion. Talk to a financial advisor, someone who's not involved in the deal.
That's good advice. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement, especially when it seems like you could make a lot of money.
Right, but that's when you need to step back and be objective. Don't let emotions cloud your judgment.
Going back to Mark Angel's story, the thing that really struck me was how much this whole thing clearly affected him, emotionally.
Yeah, the article talks about how he was drowning in debt. That's not just a financial statement, that's a feeling.
It is, and I think we often forget that, money problems, they don't just impact your bank account, they impact your whole life.
Oh, absolutely. They can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, even.
It's like a ripple effect.
It is, and that's why it's so important to have a good support system, people you can turn to when things get tough.
Which is, I guess, where Mark Angel's ex-wife comes in.
Right, Mandy. She seems to have been a rock for him during that time.
Not just financially, but emotionally, too. Just being there for him, listening.
It's amazing, really, to think that someone who's no longer romantically involved with him would still be so supportive.
It shows you that relationships can be complex. They don't always fit into neat little boxes.
Definitely. And it's a good reminder that sometimes the people who help us the most are the ones we least expect.
And it wasn't just his ex-wife, right? His social media assistant, Blessing, was also there for him.
Yeah, that's the power of true friendship. Being there for each other through thick and thin.
And his daughters, too. Even though they're young, I'm sure their presence was a source of comfort and strength.
Oh, absolutely. Kids have a way of putting things in perspective, reminding you what's truly important.
It's like they give you a reason to keep going, even when it feels like everything's falling apart.
It makes you realize that, at the end of the day, It's not about the money. It's about the people you love.
So we've talked about the risks, the potential causes of Mark Angel's financial loss, and the people who helped him through it.
But I think there's a bigger lesson here, something we can all apply to our own lives, even if we're not dealing with millions of dollars.
Like, what can we learn from this? How can we be smarter, more resilient when it comes to our own finances?
Well, I think one of the most important takeaways is the importance of really understanding financial literacy.
Yeah, it's more than just knowing how to balance a checkbook or something, right?
Right. It's about being aware of the risks, understanding how things work so you can make good decisions.
So you don't just blindly trust someone who says they have a great investment opportunity.
Exactly. It's about protecting yourself, being informed.
And thinking about Mark Angel's story, it really makes you realize how much our finances are tied to our mental and emotional well-being.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about the numbers. It's about how those numbers make you feel, the stress they can cause.
Even if you're not losing millions of dollars, financial worries can really weigh you down.
Yeah, they can affect your sleep, your relationships, everything.
So it's important to acknowledge that, right? And maybe seek help if you need it.
Definitely. There are resources available, people who can help you manage those feelings, develop coping mechanisms.
And speaking of help, that's another big takeaway from Mark Angel's story, the importance of having a good support system.
Oh, for sure. Having people you can rely on, people who have your back, it makes a huge difference.
It's you don't have to go through tough times alone. There are people who want to help, people who care.
And it's not just about receiving support. It's about being that support for others too.
Right, checking in on your friends, your family, seeing if they need anything.
Those connections, those relationships, they're so valuable. They can really help you through anything.
I keep thinking about how this whole experience might change Mark Angel's work. Will we see it reflected in his comedy?
It's possible, right? Art often draws from personal experiences, and this was a pretty major one.
Maybe he'll use his platform to talk about financial literacy or mental health or the importance of support systems.
Yeah, or maybe he'll find a way to make light of it. Use humor to help others who are going through something similar.
That's the thing about humor. It can be a really powerful coping mechanism.
It can help you process things, find a new perspective.
And I'm also curious about the online conversation, all those comments on his Instagram post. I wonder if he'll address any of that.
Yeah, will he clarify things, respond to the skepticism? There's definitely still some unanswered questions.
It's almost like a to be continued. We'll have to wait and see what happens next.
That's part of what makes this so interesting. It's not just a story. It's like a real-life drama unfolding.
And it reminds us that, even when things seem really bad, there's always the possibility of recovery, of coming out stronger on the other side.
It's a story about resilience, about the power of human connection.
And those are messages we can all take to heart.
Absolutely. And remember, this deep dives, it's just the beginning. Keep exploring this topic, keep asking questions, keep the conversation going.
And let us know what you think, what resonated with you. You can find us on social media.
We'd love to hear from you.
So, until next time, keep diving up.
Please ensure you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel.